Good evening. Welcome to Something to Talk About. We're at King's Restaurant in Tamooning tonight, as we are every night. Tonight, our guests are the Governor's Office and the Guam Police Department. They are working with a number of GovGuam agencies to try to rope in your underage drinking college students that might be coming home for summer break and try to make the summer an alcohol-free but fun summer. It's a mission called Guardian Angel. We'll talk to them about that. Our guests coming up here on Something to Talk About. Good evening and welcome back to Something to Talk About. Thanks again for joining us. Of course, we're at King's Restaurant in Tamooning. You see what we have on the table, the usual fruit platter. You guys are digging that. Yes. And a chesa platter with that. They have a really good tinolang chutney here. And then the chamorro mozzarella sticks, which is what, and the Kelaguen. This is a really good thing to order. With us today, Julia Saunders from the Governor's Office. Welcome. Okay. Thanks for joining us. This is Sean Rupley. He is with the Youth for Youth. And he's also doing other stuff, University of Guam student. And this is Cassandra, Sarah's sister, Cassandra Dimla. She's also a youth representative. Today, I sort of said we're going to talk about Mission Guardian Angel. You know, how to keep your underage adult children from imbibing during the summer break when they're on Guam. I think that's the best, and even kids trying to enjoy the summer without alcohol. Some people say that's a tough thing, is to enjoy something on Guam without alcohol. And I'm really glad that you guys are here to represent the youth and to help us understand. Is that what kids nowadays feel, like that they can't do anything if their alcohol or some substance isn't involved?
I mean, I remember being, I guess, in that mentality when I was around that age. When I got out of high school, I would see my friends and they would want to be drinking and they would, want to do all these things. And I guess it wasn't really for me, but I've seen that mentality where in order to have fun, you had to have a drink. So I like that we're moving into the idea that you don't have to have a drink in order to have fun. But I do see that a lot of the kids nowadays, I don't know if that makes me sound old. I don't think that
yeah, it does. And I think that's what it is. There's kind of like this thing where if you're young and you don't drink, then you're uncool. Right. You're not in the cool kids club. Do you get that at all, Sean?
I hope not. That means I wasn't.
You feel cool, right?
Yeah, I thought I was cool.
No, you're pretty good.
But I mean, like what Cassandra was saying about how it's this mindset, and I think that comes a lot from the environment that's created for them, right? That maybe at family parties where they see adults having fun, their or other people having fun, that there's alcohol involved. And I think, that kind of environment transcends down to when they're with their friends and they're having their own private thing. I think that's really what I like about Mission Guardian Angel. It's about highlighting these youth that understand that isn't the only environment that fun can happen. And that they can have fun with their friends without alcohol. It doesn't have to be you can have the same kind of fun, you can have the same kind of, go to the same places, but it's about your individual decisions.
Yeah. You and I are not of the same age.
Correct.
By any stretch of the imagination. Quit saying correct so quickly. No, I'm not.
Or you're referring to me as far as you.
No, we're not in the same age, and you probably could be old enough to be like my son if we really look at the ages. But what was the difference in the influence? Because there's a big gap between between your ages here.
Are you talking about when I was in that demographic?
Yeah, that was a time. I mean, you're talking
definitely.
about 80s, 90s-ish,
Right. 90s, mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
But, fortunately for myself, I was involved in sports. And so most of my friends were kind of on the same page. And this is a true story. In high school, it was shocking for us to find out, because we were kind of like considered jocks, right? If you want to categorize the high school groups and the cliques. And we were shocked to find out that the honor students were the ones that were throwing these parties with all the alcohol, and we were like, we thought they had like the lame parties, and we realized we were the ones with the lame parties.
Oh yeah.
Because we would just have
Clearly
like chips.
You didn't watch Pretty in Pink. Okay, that's totally.
I did. No, I did. I did watch it.
Oh, did you?
It wasn't one of my favorite.
No, Pretty in Pink. I bet you'll like it.
It wasn't one of my favorite Molly Ringwald movies, but so as far as being above the influence, I never really was put under that peer pressure, because like I said, my friends and we weren't really a part of that circle. And so it wasn't our notion that we need to have alcohol in order to have fun.
That's a really good point. Is there like a factor in a faction in these growing up, where you will have kids that are more easily influenced by others because of one reason or other? Maybe it's, maybe it's economical, maybe it has something to do with academics, maybe it has something to do with sports. If you find a kid who is not necessarily involved in any, maybe comes from a family that doesn't have a whole lot of money, not necessarily keeping up with the books, sort of a straggler, if you will. But there's a large group of stragglers in the system, in the school system. Do you think it has anything to do with the kind of influences that they may have over other people, or that they are influenced?
I do think it depends on the crowd that you fall into high school. I know it sounds a bit cliche to say it depends on who your friends
that's
are.
so
but
age old, though. The whole
it
clique
really
thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that growing up, I was surrounded by people who weren't interested in those things. We were more academically inclined, or we were more towards, let's just go to the beach and stuff like that. So it wasn't a priority for us to be drinking in the parties to have fun. But I have seen other groups who wanted to do the drinking, and it was a personal decision, and I do think that a lot of it goes into the media aspect of it, because a lot of what we're watching out like nowadays, it deals with drinking, and it deals with it being okay with.
But you guys weren't like, oh my gosh, they're drinking. It wasn't a big deal like it was, I'm gonna tell.
I do think at one point it was, when I was a little bit on the younger, in the high school, like maybe a freshman, I was like, oh my goodness, they're drinking, what? That's crazy. But then I guess we were kind of desensitized to it as we grew older, and it was just one of those things that we decided whether to stay away from or to do at one
So that was kind of a conscious decision. How much of influence did your mother and father have over that, or your older siblings?
I mean, my parents were always, I don't know, I've never actually been told to not drink. I've always just known it was something that I shouldn't do until a certain age. So I guess it does depend on the household that you come from as well, because my parents have never really they've never told me you're not supposed to drink.
Yeah. How about you, Sean? Is that what's the kind of environment you grew up in?
I mean, I would say it's very similar. Like my parents didn't like sit down with me and have like an alcohol talk, right? But I don't know if that's also because I got involved with youth group at a very young age. I started when I was about 12 years old, and so maybe they that could have been a big influence on that. I've always felt like my parents gave me a lot of room to grow, to be invested in all these other things, whether it's school, extracurricular clubs, youth as a member, any kind of thing. And I guess that's kind of what kept me away from alcohol, tobacco, or drugs. Like the fact that I was so invested in these other things that became my priority.
So that's kind of key. Their attention has always got to be diverted somewhere else. Yeah. I mean, is that what you're saying?
That's exactly. I mean, like they say, idle hands are the double play thing. That old quote, right? And it's supposed to be that if they have something, they have these healthy alternatives. They have things that they can put their time and effort and prioritize. Then I feel like that leaves a lot less room for negative influences.
You mentioned something about the media. That's a really good point. How much of the media influence or attention to underage drinking or teenage suicide, that's these sort of issues that for that age group, how much of it helps or hinders? Do you know?
You're talking about I'm not sure of like statistics or like facts or anything, but I mean, based on personal experience, right? We grow up, and I feel like there's a lot of movies, a lot of we want to look at legacy media, we want to look at the newer social media, and a lot of it's kind of like you can see there's not too much alcohol prevention when it comes to the personal level. People are talking about drinking, people are posting pictures of themselves. When it comes to like movies like. There's this one movie that's just a giant party. I don't remember what the movie's called. You know what I'm talking about?
Which one?
There's so many.
Project X, and then there's that Over 21. But then again, at least they're talking about responsible.
Over 21.
Yeah, what did you say?
Waiting.
So, I mean, what you mean is that they take an issue that is a really a problematic issue, and they sort of romanticize it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like smoking. They romanticize it. Everybody, you're cool if you do that sort of thing. It makes people want to do it rather than stay away from it. It's all about the cool kids club, I think, right?
Well, I mean, you could easily say that, but then if we keep labeling it that way, then it'll kind of have that image that it's the cool kids, and it's not. It's just the kids who somehow got into the smoking and into the drinking. And if you think to the island culture, we celebrate almost everything, which is fine to say that, right? But at a lot of these celebrations, we have alcohol mixed into whatever it may be. And I think growing up, it's just kind of normal to have alcohol, not necessarily to drink, but to have alcohol at these celebrations. Because you think about high school parties, they tend to have the alcohol because you have kids that want to drink and be rebellious in that sense. And then again, because it should be there. We always think like, well, we need to have regular drinks and we need to have alcohol.
Yeah.
And I always wondered that when it came to like children's parties, because, I have 2 daughters now. And immediately when, we're having a birthday party for my first daughter and her first birthday, I'm like, I don't want any alcohol there. This party is for her. Yes, we want the family to come and enjoy, but they need to remember this is a child's birthday party. I don't need, drunken adults
people
getting into fights or whatever at my
yeah.
daughter's first birthday.
Yeah.
So I think now moving forward, if we look at being a little bit more responsible and a little bit more, I guess, more picky when it comes to which events we're going to serve alcohol at.
Yeah.
I think that can help positively influence the future generation, the younger generation.
And I think that's what we're going to talk about when we come back from this break. Mission Guardian Angel.
Yes.
That's now becoming a catchphrase, and maybe it'll make it into the cool circle. I think it will. You got some good representatives behind it.
Definitely.
We can make that happen. We're something to talk about. Come on back. Welcome back to Something to Talk About. We got Julius, we got Sean, we got Cassandra, and we are talking about underage drinking, partying during the summer. It's hard to get away from the whole partying scene. It's like, hey, it's so much fun. We got a lot of things happening. All these festivals taking place. We got Liberation Day, we got July 4th, graduation ceremonies, and all of that stuff. Mission Guardian Angel is, whose concept was, whose great idea was that? You're supposed to, nobody's here, so you're supposed to say it was mine.
Well, no, it was actually one of the governor's initiatives for the summer, and so I'm just kind of helping him spearhead that and working with our partners, of course, with a bunch of the government of Guam agencies, non-governmental agencies, to help get the word out there. We wanted to focus on of course, the young adults, 18 to 21, but really this is we're trying to get the entire island community involved in this,
And part of it is to try to regulate sort of these parties where there is graduation parties. You've got a great mixture of people of different ages going to some. I think at some of these parties they expect that there's going to be alcohol served. I love the Youth for Youth movement, and I think that engaging peers to be the people who are going to help. How do you do that without looking like the snitch or the tattletale, or what's the method that you? I mean, you must have to have a lot of confidence.
Well, I mean, I think that's exactly why we ended up partnering with the government, or not partnering, sorry, ended up being involved with Mission Guardian Angel, is because it's all about role modeling. Right? Our organization, it's like you said, it's about a youth movement that demonstrates to their peers what it is to be alcohol, tobacco, or drug-free, and specifically alcohol in this case, of course. And I believe that as an advisor for the organization now, maybe like four active advisors, we put a lot of confidence, like you said, a lot of trust into our officers' hands. They're all youth members. There's a senior, a junior, and 2 sophomores. And there's a lot of confidence in what they can do in their abilities. And I think that by putting that much confidence, that much power and trust in their hands, they make the right choices. They feel like if I'm capable of this, and these many people believe that I'm capable of this, I can step up and live up to that. And I think that kind of role modeling is exactly what Mission Guardian Angel is trying to capture. Finding these key people and saying, like, look, this is what they're doing. It's possible for them, so it's possible.
By example, not necessarily
Right.
by lecture. So you're not out there sitting going to a bar going, okay, girl, this is not, all right. Yeah,
I
that's
think-
difficult. That's difficult to do.
I just wanted to add on to what he was saying, where you talked about, how do we do this without being seen as that snitch or tattletale. It's like, we're not here to tell on you. We're here to tell you that, we need to be more responsible as a collective. And like he said, when you give that person that respect and show them that, we trust you and we're giving you that responsibility, they tend to make that the right decision. I mean, I kind of look at it from a parenting perspective. Growing up, it was always the person with the most strict parents that wanted to sneak out and do the dirt, so they say, because they wanted to experience what it was like to be bad, because they never had an opportunity. Whereas the parents that gave the respect and the trust to their children tended to be, you know, they went out, they had fun, but they're like, oh, I need to be home at a certain time, because they didn't want to break that trust to be able to go out again. So I guess that's kind of like the spirit that I wanted to capture, is if we give them that trust and the responsibility, we're telling them, we understand you're going to have fun. Please, by all means, go and do that. But just remember, there are repercussions, you know, and there are consequences if you're not responsible about that. And take care of your friends in that sense, your peers. Yeah.
Did you? Were you going to add something to that?
No, I was going to say that relates so much. I'm thinking about it now to what we were talking about earlier with Sandra and I, our background. And like when we think about it, we didn't have the strict parents. We didn't have parents that said you cannot drink, you cannot do this, you have to be home at a certain time. We had parents that, of course, had structure for us, but they also provided a lot of responsibility for us. That you were the masters of your own destiny, people that had to be responsible for yourself.
And you were accountable if you failed as well. But that seems like the root of the problem. Is the lack of parenting. You know, we come from in a society that a lot of parents. I mean, a lot of families are one-parent families, and I would venture to say that they're female-run. And in these cases, it's difficult. You know, I can understand it, but sometimes the mother may lack the skill to be able to discipline her kid, or to keep them at home, or to guide them, because they're suffering whatever, you know, issue that they are in at the time, being a single mother.
Right.
Yeah, and so a lot of that, you know, comes back to the parents, and that as kids you can't. There's nothing you can do about that. You know what I mean? There's nothing to do about it.
Right. And I can speak to that because I grew up for the better part of my life with a single parent, my mother, and she was working 3 jobs. So
Was she strict on you?
Huh?
Was she strict on you, or she?
No, like he's mentioned, she had structure, and she knew that I was going to do the things that teenagers did, and so she gave me that trust to go out. She just asked me to be home at a reasonable time, and the times, you know, the curfews that she gave me, I was like, wow, I never even made it to those times. I never stayed out late enough. You know? She'd be like 12.
I wasn't.
And all my friends were like, why?
Yeah. I wasn't cool enough to stay past 11.
And there were a couple times where I did kind of like neglect my responsibilities, and I came home late. And I don't know how she figured that it would work, but she left me a note on my bed telling me how disappointed she was,
that's the worst.
you know, and
Yeah,
that it
that is
made
the
her
worst.
sad, you know, and so.
I pull that.
And
I feel bad when I do that.
And I was a mama's boy, so that really got to me worse than any lecture or scolding, or because I was, you know, old enough to have gotten whippings growing up. But it was worse than any of all of that, and it hurt me. So I guess I'm going to speak to all of you out there who are in single parent homes. You know, your mom or your dad worked really hard, okay, and to let them down is probably the worst thing that you can do.
Were you afraid to let your parents down?
All the time, I still am.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't
Somebody's
the
like,
belt.
please spank me.
I know, right? It wasn't the belt. It was that.
Please yell at me.
To see that look of disappointment was
Honestly,
really.
so what was the worst trouble you ever gotten into? I'm going to ask you the same question. So you have to.
Worst trouble
Oh, see, he
I've
has to
gotten in
think
my
about
life.
it. Either you
it.
think about it, or like you don't want to divulge what the word.
I'm just trying to remember.
I mean, what's the?
I think this one, the first thing that comes to mind, I don't know if it's necessarily the worst trouble, it's just the one I always think about.
Yeah.
Because when I was a little kid, I forgot what I needed, but I needed something on top of like the medicine cabinet in the bathroom. I ended up climbing on the sink, and the sink like collapsed.
Oh,
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Right? Like, I was able to get off in time before I fell, right? But I was just like looking at the broken sink, like, oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
How strong is glue?
Like, just like, okay, well, so I remember telling my mom, and she's like, you have to tell your father because he's not home. And I was like, oh man, I was so like mentally prepping myself for it. And then I remember telling my dad, and he just said, okay, that's fine. I think we were looking to replace it anyways. It was kind of wobbly, and I was like,
Wow.
oh, okay, you know,
Was
like
that-
I was like, is this a trick?
Yeah.
It's like,
You're gonna beat me on the way to
you're
Home
just like,
Depot,
am I
aren't
in
you?
trouble right now? There wasn't even a Home Depot.
Yeah, you're gonna make me lift the sink.
Make me install the new sink, aren't you? But
Yeah.
you know,
But did that instill in you? Was that a teachable moment for you? Because he could have reacted any way.
I believe it was. I mean, for me, that it was. I mean, of course, it was about adapting. Like my dad did. It was about how I didn't need to be punished so severely, and I guess, I guess it. I'm not.
But you know, I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you exactly what it is,
Okay.
because this is part of my method. I think at these moments where a kid feels like it's end of the world. It's a devastating, and my daughter backed into her sister's car. She was 13 and rammed the side of it, pushed the door in. And I was having a dinner party at my house, and she came in the house shaking. And then it's that moment where you know you're going to have to pay for it. I mean, I'm going to have to pay for the damage to the car. But I thought there was also a more important moment that, however I reacted to it, she was going to remember that's how you react to a devastating moment. And however I reacted to it, my other daughter, who was the victim of all of this, would know to be less forgiving about something. She could see that people make mistakes no matter how, and that's still your sister. You know what I mean? So yeah, you can rant and rave for a minute, but rope it in a little bit, because this is a teachable moment. So she will always remember, and not that I'm the cause of it, because she's a cool kid anyway, but she always remembers you don't have to fly off the handle every time something really, really bad happens. You just need to know, things are always fixable.
Right.
Always fixable, especially if you love somebody.
Another important fact when it comes to that is when you don't overreact, when your child divulges information that they could have kept secret, then you're showing them it's okay to tell me if things happen in your life. Because that's one of my biggest fears as a father and 2 daughters, is that they keep things from me where that could potentially hurt them or the family.
That's absolutely true. Okay, worst thing you ever did, girl?
Worst thing I ever did? I don't know. I mean, I think I've done worse things as a child as I have, as an adult. Because my sisters always told me that when I was a kid, I would always be the troublemaker. I would be the one pissing my parents off. And my parents would be mad at my sisters.
Yeah.
So I would be
You were the cause. Yeah.
My dad would always be in a bad mood because of me. So I don't know. I've just been a really naughty kid. I was always the kid that would always question why things are the way they are.
Oh, that's cool though.
So I don't know. I guess growing up, I haven't really given them cause to get mad at me.
Yeah.
But I know at one point I threw a big bottle of powder at someone because they were telling me to get it from upstairs and I didn't want to, so I threw it down at them. I got in pretty big trouble for that.
Did you have to mop it up? Because I'd have had you on your hands and knees.
Thank God it was closed.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
I think growing up, my parents have always been. I think I was always a lot more harder on myself than my parents were on me. So when I would get a bad grade, I would always tell them Man, I got this, and I think they saw how bad I felt. So they didn't really get too mad at me because they saw that I was already kind of punishing myself in a way. So I don't know. I guess.
Well, that's a good example. That's really a good example. So, throughout the summer, how is this going to work?
We're targeting our media. So I know we were talking earlier about how our media has so many negative effects on our teens and even our young adults. So we're using Instagram, Facebook, Twitter to kind of target a more positive aspect of it. So we're going to be
What's the message? What's the message?
Mission Guardian Angel. So we're going to be educating our youth through that, and we're going to be showing them that it's okay to wait until you're 21. If you are going to do, if you're going to participate in drinking activities over 21, then you have to be responsible. So you'll have your designated driver.
Are you both over 21?
Yes.
Do you run into those kinds of challenges going out? I mean, you're now of legal age. I mean, it's not a big deal for you?
I remember my first college party. I was so nervous because my friend and I didn't drink, and we didn't want to drink, and we thought, man, are those guys gonna make us drink? But it was a learning experience because we found out that they didn't make us drink. They respected the fact that we didn't want to drink, and eventually we became the designated drivers. So
that's something fun of the designated drivers. And you, Sean, you're not a big party. You're not your thing.
I go to parties, of course, with social experience and everything. And I think for me personally, it's about being kind of tying into what Guardian Angel's about. I watch, of course, how much I drink, but I also am very conscious of my friends. People that I come there with and people that I'm very close to.
Get a buddy up.
Yeah, but budding up, if someone's had too much to drink, then I make sure that they have time to sober, that they're going to be sober, or that they're going to not be the ones driving themselves home. If they drove their own car, it's okay, you're going to be crashing at my house, my friend's house, And I think it ties a lot into what Guardian Angel is about, being a guardian angel for those who are around you, the people that you consider close to you.
And that's the way they do it, man. That's the way they do it. Thank you guys so much. Mission Guardian Angel. These are some of the faces of it, so don't be surprised if you see them around. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. You guys are great. Thanks
for having us.
Appreciate it. That is it for tonight. Have a good evening. We'll see you.